Loving these brakes. Try to find some dry pavement here. Ooh, a little push, not bad though. Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Boston Motorsports in Brighton, Massachusetts, we're driving the 2022 Audi RS e-tron GT. And in my opinion, this is the sexiest electric vehicle on the market today. And although it is essentially a Porsche Taycan underneath, the design changes they made for the Audi version of this is absolutely staggering. It has 637 horsepower. It'll do about 240 miles on a full charge. And it's an absolute torque monster. Now, let's take a look at this thing first, because you can see a lot of that Taycan style just in its overall shape. And right here, I think this angle looking forward at that front quarter, that's the most indicative of the Taycan design. This one is outfitted in Kimura Gray, actually very similar looking to my Sonic Gray Pearl Honda Civic Si. Sorry for the comparison, Audi, especially if you spent $175,000 on the car. These are the concept wheels. They look absolutely gorgeous, and they're hiding the 10 piston calipers. Up front, we've got a 265 section tire. In the rear, we have a 305 in order to maintain all of that torque. And it does have rear steering. So this is supposed to be pretty nimble, and it ought to be, because you've got all that weight, 5,100 pounds of it, mounted pretty low in the chassis, because electric vehicle, battery packs, you know the deal. It's got a 2-speed transmission just like the Taycan, which is just for sort of efficiency and keeping those motor speeds lower at high speed on the Autobahn. Kind of a unique thing in the EV game right now to have a transmission. So what do you sacrifice for this incredible design? Well, first of all, you've got a carbon fiber roof. We always like that, but that does mean that you're not going to get a glass or sunroof appearance inside. So you're going to lose out on some of that light. But hey, in the name of performance or style, however you want to see it, that's pretty cool. Back here, we've got our dual pane glass. Because this is an EV, you want to make sure that although you're not listening to loud internal combustion noises, you're not getting all kinds of unpleasant road noise. This is not a hatchback. It does have a normal trunk, and it's reasonably spaced, and we've got unceremoniously placed our charging situation here. We'll throw a plate on it, and we'll go for a drive. In the back seats, now, not soft closed doors, and fairly simple seats back here, but attractive nonetheless. Now, for a very tall person, this may not be an ideal place as an adult, but I am 5'10", let's say, and I'm fitting here quite nicely. I do have heated rear seats, but remember, everything you use electronically in this car, whether it's the air conditioning, the heater, the heated seats, that is going to have an impact on your range, however small. And it is pretty back here just because you've got the gorgeous quilted leather seats with the red stitching, and you gotta have some red seat belts because we're in the Volkswagen group. We've got Porsche written all over this, despite the fact that it's got 4 rings on it. But although the Porsche Taycan and Audi e-tron GT get overshadowed in the range department by other EVs, Tesla namely, the driving experience of this car is quite good and might be worth that sacrifice if you don't want to just have a video game for a car. To start the e-tron, we've got our push to start in the center. Not much happens because there's nothing to really start. You're just engaging it. And Audi did put in kind of an interesting new noise to the car that is supposed to give you the sensation of speed. And it does. And I actually appreciate some of the noises that come from these cars, not because I feel like they're essential. You know, no one likes a fake noise. But in an electric vehicle, it's great to know if you are accelerating and things like that. It's funny how much auditory feedback matters in an automobile, and you really notice it when you don't have it. I have not done a launch in this car, and because I picked it up with only about 65 miles of range, I've been being really gentle in it. And right now, we're gonna go find out how quick it gets off the line. So we'll go to our drive select. We're gonna put it in dynamic mode. We're gonna be lowering the car just a little bit because this does have air suspension. That's pretty quick off the line. I'm somewhat impressed, but it does fall off a little bit. I'm wondering if it's because the charge is somewhat low. Is it limiting me? So we're gonna try that one more time. you can feel that 2-speed transmission kick in. Now, one of the weird things about the RS e-tron GT is that while it does have 637 horsepower, it has it for 2.5 seconds. So it has 2.5 seconds of that maximum power for a 0 to 60 that takes 2.9 seconds. So you do kind of feel that back off for a second, or I guess a half a second or 0.4 of a second. That's really unique. I don't know very many cars that have that vibe. It's also possible just by the fact that this, has a somewhat low charge in it, that it's doing a self-preservation thing. But that doesn't seem very preserved. That is putting all of the power down very quickly, and I'm really into it. Now, it's a bit wet out here, but I've got all the things I need to kind of keep me grounded. I've got 4-wheel steering, I've got reasonable tires, got all-wheel drive because we've got the dual motor. But it's funny because you do hear all of the loose things knocking around in the car. Like I've got the keys over here, and it's more pronounced, I think, just because there's nothing else to listen to. And you really do have to peel yourself away. We're not going to hit these savage geese, the Canadian geese. You do have to peel yourself away from the pedal because, you don't have the revs to limit you to say okay, all right, don't be so abusive, easy now. You could just go and go and go. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, unlike a Tesla, you don't have full one pedal driving. You're not able to just lift off, come to a complete stop. That's not the style of the Porsche Taycan, and it's not the style of the Audi e-tron. So although you do have control for regenerative braking when you get off the pedal, I have my paddle shifters. The paddle shifters allow you to control how much regen you want. It's not through the windshield gonna stop you. When you get into the brakes, I believe the first, I want to say 20%, you can correct me for the technical nerds in the comments. I believe the first 20% of brake travel doesn't really even engage the calipers. It's just increasing the regen of the motors. I think they've tuned this better than it was. I've driven the original Taycans, and I remember the brakes feeling really weird at first. This feels a bit more natural already, and I think it just comes with time. And so, they're never gonna say that it's changed from model year to model year. I think either I've adapted to EV regen braking, or these brakes have been tuned a little differently. Ooh, someone had a big off right here. I guess we shouldn't be hunting down emergency vehicles, so we'll be a little gentle here. But suffice it to say, we could get to the emergency faster than the emergency vehicle. Handling wise, I am quite impressed with it, just because we are able to maintain a really agile feeling in a 5,200 pound car. I mean, that's no joke. That's not something that's easy to do. So I'm quite impressed with that. And I do find it personally offensive that cars are getting so heavy, and that the EV situation that we're going into over the next decade, there are going to be a lot heavier vehicles on the road. I find that to be a danger to society. That bothers me. Oh man, this thing really tackles a ramp. Holy shit. That's no joke. Amazing turning radius with our tight little 4-wheel steering. That's pretty good stuff. I don't think my Honda can even do that. There go the keys. I'm actually blown away by how balanced this is. I can't believe it's not understeering. These aren't actually incredible tires or anything wild, So the fact that it's able to do that is really something special. So driving around normally, I think, is where this thing really feels premium and special. Now, it's of course incredible the way it handles, but it always has a sense of occasion. I really like the steering feel. I really love all the inputs that go into this. Like I said, they've definitely adjusted the braking performance and how that's tuned, and I think that's gone a long way to make this feel more natural. The one thing that I think is like kind of bizarre is the 2-speed transmission. That doesn't really add up to me. And in practice, like, you actually do notice the shift. Like, you feel the shift. You notice that there is time taken away. I don't love that. And, you know, maybe in the next generations of these types of like Porsche EVs, these Audi EVs, that will go away. That won't be as much of a thing. But like, I just don't find it that necessary. What I do love is the suspension. They have not messed around with this. It is very sporty, but it's not so stiff that you're getting jumped and jarred around all over the place. It seems to do a great job masking the weight. They've definitely made this thing like a little canyon carver. It's very point and shoot. And you've got to be aware of just like how much is really under your right foot when you're in this thing, because it's easy. It would be so easy to just close gaps, close distance with this thing in such a hurry that you could get yourself caught up. So, you know, I don't know that everybody is used to having a 600 or 700 horsepower vehicle, and even in a normal 600 or 700 horsepower vehicle, it's not necessarily this accessible. So just be aware, if this is your first rodeo with a fast car, you need to think before you act. Take our guy on the on-ramp because we have lots of speed. Loving these brakes. Try to find some dry pavement here. Ooh, a little push, not bad though. And we just have brakes for days. So that's something that's really beautiful about these cars, is that yes, you're getting this insane power. And I know, I can already see the comments, the Plaid is faster. Sure, the Plaid is faster. The biggest complaint people have with Tesla's Model S Plaid is that the brakes run out, that you're giving somebody 1,000 horsepower and you're not necessarily giving them the opportunity to have repeatable stops. And I think that these cars, this Porsche Taycan and RS e-tron GT, these two cars match the brakes. They overdo the brakes really on a car that is incredibly capable in a straight line, and that's what you want. Most intelligent drag racers are going to tell you that the first thing they want to upgrade in their vehicle are the brakes. You know, they've got brakes, they've got parachutes. You don't want to go and toss 1,200 horsepower into a car and then not be able to bring it back down. You always want to be able to stop, and this feels like a track star despite carrying like 5,200 pounds. So here we are on the highway. We only have 34 miles of range left because I have been an absolute goon, and that's fine. We have enough to get back to the charging station at the dealership. And out here on the highway, I will say there's a bit of road noise, probably due to these Goodyear tires, but also the fact that you're just dealing with an electric vehicle. You don't have the distraction of an exhaust or an internal combustion engine. There's a lot of things that you don't hear when you drive cars like this, and that means that everything else is amplified. That's gonna bother me. When we put our drive select into efficiency mode, you'll notice that there's a max 85 mile per hour warning on the dashboard. Now, that's for a pretty obvious reason, but if you don't understand, wind resistance is a square. So the faster you go, the more you're pushing. It's not a linear thing. So I assume that is simply to maximize the use of this battery while giving you the ability to still go a little faster than the speed limit, but not allow you to waste all your energy at 100 or 110 miles an hour. When it comes to electric vehicles, I think there's a lot of factors at play in which one you buy, if at all. Some folks are completely dependent on the range. They're really not going to feel comfortable until they have a 400 or a 450 mile range, and that's something that can be achieved at this point. There's Teslas that can do that, the Lucid can do that. Porsche and Audi, unfortunately, are stuck under 250 miles at this point, and that can be a deal breaker for a lot of people. But others are drivers. Other people understand that they can get away with that kind of range. They're going to be charging in their house overnight, and it's not really that big a deal. And if they're not, they understand where they can charge along the way en route, wherever they're going, whether it's on, to their vacation house or to work. What I will say, though, is that the Taycan and the e-tron GT are probably my favorite handling EVs. I think these are the most car-like EVs. I feel like I am getting into a premium car that happens to be electric, and it utilizes that electricity to do things that otherwise could not be achieved in their internal combustion counterparts. I just love having instant torque on tap. That feels really good. So I'm gonna go drop this car back off at Boston Motorsports in Brighton, Massachusetts. I wanna thank them for tossing me the keys to this really special, really fast EV. I love to experience all forms of motorsport, and this car, not only is it gorgeous, it's capable. And maybe it doesn't live up to all of the expectations of the perfect EV at this point, but I do think it's something that if you are in the market for it, you've got the cash to burn on an expensive daily driver, don't let this one slip through the cracks. And I assure you, if you're comparing the driving experience to most other EVs, the competition, this is going to stand out. Whether that fits into your life practically or not, that's something you have to answer. But for right now, I can tell you, this is a joy to drive. It's quite relaxing and it's quite capable. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. So I'm going to take this back to Boston Motorsports and drop it off. I want to thank Boston Motorsports, part of the McGovern Auto Group, for tossing me the keys to this RS e-tron EG.